All right. Draven against Amumu. Draven Amumu against Aphelios and Renata. Well, what is your initial idea of how you guys want to play it out?
I mean, first of all, we wanted to split map.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to dive, and I think if I can get 2 axes, we can kind of force them off the first wave. Since if Momo can hit a Q, we can just all in.
Okay, okay.
And since we were splitting map, my thought was like, the more I trade, the better, even if it's a losing trade, because well, the map is split and it's easier to dive than them.
Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah, I think you can go so far to like. In my mind, I see that you guys are stronger level 1, just because of how strong Amumu is and Renata and Aphelios being relatively weak. And then in my mind, I think if these guys ever walk on the lane, that you guys should just hard force trade summoners with them and just use everything to force a fight. If they ever walk to hit a minion, especially level 1, is at least how I imagine it being played out.
Yeah.
I think like the trade of summoners is essential, because in my mind, if you're just stacking a wave and you're bouncing, even if you like cheater basing against Aphelios or creating a situation where you are stacking a wave and you're not diving, when he gets the right guns, it becomes so much easier for him to crash a wave, especially when he has spells and so forth. I feel like you guys really need to find good payoff level 1, 2, 3, and if they burn summoners, they're playing against Galio, I think it becomes a tricky game.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how you guys approach it. Alright.
But they were maybe chasing there, so
yeah.
let's try to watch.
I think in a general sense, it does make sense to just secure it for Wukong, because on this patch it doesn't clear so well, so I don't think it's the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm not too big of a fan of the angle that the Momo took here. At least in my mind, I'm seeing a situation, you have 2 axes, and I'm thinking that they should not be walking on the wave at all. I understand his thought process that he wants to just asset the minion for you, but in my mind, any initiative, any HP you can burn with double axes and potentially even summoners, or to just push them off their position, I think you should always take it over a single CS at this point. What do you think here?
And looking at it now, I think we can also like walk past the midis.
Yeah.
Fast and all in. But yeah, usually if I'm like, let's say I start in lane normally and it's not split map, I usually like to not drop the first 3 last hits for a trade unless I can make sure they lose the XP of my first 3 midis.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how good that is, like to prioritize free CS over a good trade.
Yeah, because in my mind, I'm thinking Wukong is on split map situation, and any resource that they can burn is already like a big deal. And then the question initially is maybe if you guys like leash too hard. But at the same time, I get it, because it's Wukong and his clear is kind of shit. Like if he's gonna do red raptors, he's gonna be. I guess he should be on time if you guys are stacking 3 and he dies at level 2, if that's the plan. I'm thinking if maybe you guys overleashed, or if the play should be that these guys should be punished in this position. But I was gonna let it play and see what kind of happens. Because then even this spot, it's kind of weird to me that Amumu is moving back. I'm thinking these guys are super weak already.
Yeah.
My main concern as well is why I think it's important to look to force the trade and the summoners before the next wave arrives, because they can mask and they can be defended by the next wave coming, and they can just hug it, and then as the wave is too big, it doesn't make as much sense to be the first to initiate the fight. That's why I'm concerned about that specific timing if you're building the wave.
Would you say here that if Amumu goes into this bush, should I like match him as I'm doing here, or should I like go on the top side of the lane, so if he gets an angle to Q, I can like, I'm closer to them?
I'm thinking the main thing is, if I'm looking at this, I'm thinking if Amumu begins to etch into the next bush as an example, because this range minion went, I don't know why this range minion went all the way here. I'm just looking at it. It's Amumu, I guess, that's why. Okay. I'm thinking here in terms of your position, you are tethered fine together with Amumu. I think just the main thing is that if Amumu decides to go all the way into the next bush, then you can just walk into the range creeps as well, and I think it's going to be completely fine. But the issue is just the next wave, that your window of trading is so small because the next wave is already coming. That's like my main concern. I wonder if there's a way for you to, as this guy is looking to hit this range minion, for you to proc the Guardian.
Yeah, if I keep walking forward, maybe there is. And the thing is, he has 100 range more than me with the green one. So
then the same thing as well here for me. I think Amumu is losing his position on the level 2. I think that as the level 2 is approaching, he should already be in the third bush at minimum a Force Award. Like, these guys are way too far forward with how weak they are, in my mind. But I guess it might be related to what Graves is doing, right? So
yeah,
I'm strictly just focusing on what's going on in the lane. I didn't even pay attention to the fact that Graves invaded your blue side. What is your state of mind now, considering Wukong is crossing into top side?
Probably crush this wave ASAP.
Okay.
And I could take a base, and Amumu stays in the lane in case they hard push.
Okay.
And if they're like stepping completely up on the 4th wave, I can also take base and just stay.
Okay.
But I think I should crush this wave ASAP.
Okay. Because either you would stack this wave with the 4th wave, or you're crashing this wave, right?
Yeah.
I think usually in my experience, if you stack the 4th wave, unless you're diving, it becomes so easy with the wave position to build a bigger wave for them, because the wave, the 5th wave will be so close to their tower, and it will be easier for them to pressure forward, in my experience. So do you guys crash this wave, or do you crash next? I'm just gonna double check if you guys could have done anything to kill it faster.
I think I could have.
Yeah, I guess you wasted some time here on the trade to look to trade.
Yeah.
Here it's so weird because Amumu cannot interact, so you're trading 1v2 pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think any chip damage is less relevant because he has Doran's Blade and red weapon still.
Yeah. But I think maybe I was thinking that you know, if I take like a losing trade, but I still get some damage on him, if I base after the cannon wave and I come back, it's like, you know, it doesn't really matter for me to lose the HP.
Okay. Like in my mind, he's playing P tier, or was he playing Fleet? I didn't actually spot this.
Fleet, I think.
Fleet, okay. So he would regen anything that you would do, right? It's like here, my mind, the priority is just to make sure that the wave does crash as soon as possible. Because at least when I'm looking at it, I see that the next wave is so close to the lane already.
Yeah.
Because here already your base is very late, like if you decide to base.
Yeah. And now kind of supposed to stay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if item advantage is gonna be big enough to stop them from crashing when he has blue weapon and the wave is gonna be monster sized.
Yeah. Not. I was thinking if like in these kind of scenarios, if let's say it wasn't Aphelios, it was something with like better wave clear. I don't know, like Siva maybe on that patch. Like it's kind of flipped for me to base. I feel like if I mean they have to flip it as well to like hard push the wave I based on, since it's not a cannon. But I'm usually kind of indecisive if I should base on those timings or not, since if they just push, I will lose the wave. So.
Yeah, the situation became very strange because the cannon wave actually like didn't crash and they froze it, and then you want to push wave 4 and 5, and then you want to base on 5 to make the enemy push the 6th wave. But considering you have melee support, it becomes a lot harder to actively like push that wave. So they kind of have like the initiative in the lane. So I think due to the fact that like level 1 you guys leashed late and you came to the first 3 melees late, so you couldn't pressure them on this point, which is where you guys are a lot stronger. The level 2 timer, Amumu walked towards the graves in the jungle because he wanted to pressure when potentially he could have angled more aggressively in because the enemy was walking up right when they level 1 against 2, which was very crazy. And then that short trade that you decided to do that burnt a little bit of time on you hitting the wave, because maybe you guys can just crash that wave quicker, and then that cheater base will be a little bit more it would just be better. Right?
Yeah.
And then if you decide to hit the wave and Amumu hits the wave, I think also Amumu shouldn't be afraid of hitting the wave and losing HP if Aphelios decides to hit him. I think it's perfectly fine. Because the biggest priority there is to kill the wave as fast as possible, to make the wave as big as possible as it's approaching the enemy. So it will be harder for them to freeze, and that the next wave will be later, and that the wave will die to the tower, and the wave will not get stuck in the third wave, the fourth wave meaning.
Yeah.
But here, ideally, I think what I'm seeing here, once again, I didn't pay attention to the jungle situation. In my mind, from this position, you can share what your thoughts are. I'm thinking that you want to do everything that you can to just thin out the wave as much as possible to not make them crash.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Because Amumu has Dima as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Because then I think yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, in these kind of positions, I'm not sure if it's better to make the slow push less big, or if it's better to start taking prior yourself and creating another slow push.
In my mind, it always depends on the jungle situation. I think unless you are so basically, if there's a window that is coming up where you know that your jungle, the enemy jungle can be there, and it will be hard for you to potentially crash a wave just because of jungle advantage. Or there's a situation where you could potentially pressure dive, which is probably not realistic when they are completely healthy and you have Wukong in the jungle at this point when they're level 3. Or if there's a situation where, like here, you have item advantage, and I think the best way you can leverage it in isolated 1v1 is to just thin out the wave and maintain their slow push towards you and force them to commit more resources in order to actually fight you, because they have to actually fight you in order to crash the wave.
Yeah.
Which is my mindset. But the only thing that I'm thinking about is maybe I have a wrong view of how strong Aphelios' blue weapon is, because I don't know how easy it is for him to actually just one-shot the wave. That's like my only concern.
Yeah.
Like if you thin out the wave and then he has blue weapon, he just one-shots the 7th wave, then all of this is kind of irrelevant, right? And then I would reframe the matchup in a way where you guys need to gain a lot more in the previous levels in order to build an advantage.
Yeah.
Because from this position it looks good. If you thin out the wave more and you leave the ranged alive, you hit the melees, you kill maybe another range, the wave is in the center, you thin out the wave, and then Amumu could potentially angle for an all-in, he could demod the cannon and then fight on the wave, they could lose a lot of HP, and then maybe Wukong, you can break their freeze or their slow push towards you through a good trade. I think that's valuable, because then you've made them weaker towards the potential dive, and I think that's valuable.
Sorry, could you repeat actually?
So basically, if you break their slow push towards you with a trade that is beneficial to you, so often like if let's say spells are being used or Amumu Q's in and you want to demod the cannon because it would do a lot of damage, right? These things would potentially break their slow push towards you. And in that case, in my mind, it's worth it, because as you are crashing into their wave, either you can threaten dive, or at the same time when they're going to begin to bounce, they're a lot weaker than they were previously, because you can still maintain that position where you thin out the next wave because they still need to push out, and you can still leverage the good trade for something beneficial. It's like a good trade is good in cases where you push into them, and it's also good when they push into you, because any trade of power in such a case is beneficial to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the main thing in my mind, if what determines if it's correct to break the freeze or to push into them is just tied to other factors within the game, like jungle, for example, Galio or whatever. Yeah. I wonder here if it makes more sense for you to hard push this one together.
Yeah, I was thinking too, because they had to walk a bit back because we cancelled their base, so we could just hard push this.
Yeah, it's like they did base kind of late. Like the wave is already in close proximity, and it makes sense in my mind for you guys to just hard shove it.
Yeah.
Because everything becomes in reverse as you guys are stacking in the wave, and he still has blue weapon. I think it will be very easy for him to thin out the wave, and you guys will be put in a position where crashing the wave might become awkward. It's like the moment the wave is past the point of like the bot lane cliff, as the melee champion, you are very sad in this spot, and I think it's so easy for Aphelios Renato to thin out the wave.
Yeah.
So I think if you hard shove it and let it bounce, you can be the one thinning out the wave and put them in a position where they need to crash into you. I think it's a lot better for the Draven side. And Amumu can stay in the bush and you guys can actually fight the all-ins.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, here as you're building the wave, they feel threatened by Wukong and Galio, then of course it changes matters. But if it's isolated 2v2, they can definitely thin out the wave in my mind with blue weapon.
Yeah. And that's also the thing with slow push, like you get kind of fake pressure that the enemy has to play on the defensive side, kind of.
For sure, yeah, for sure. But the enemy is like doing the correct thing by breaking the play through mid with LeBlanc and Graves, making sure that Galio can't pressure. Wukong did Ocean Drake, so they know this information. As long as LeBlanc and Graves hover into bot, even if you manage to crash those waves somehow, then there will not be a dive. So they are doing like the correct thing here.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Graves based after the topside crab from before, went bot, did golems, and then raptors, and then crossed into mid, and this is the situation. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's the issue. I'm thinking that Aphelios' blue weapon can just thin out the wave as much as he wants. We don't even know where Renata is. Amumu can't pressure him at all. Amumu didn't even base yet. And for sure, you guys should have hard pushed and based, I think.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm assuming Renata is not here by how Aphelios is playing. Because I think if Renata is right behind him, he could potentially look to hit the wave more. Because I don't know why he's afraid, because I think in this position, you're not going to look to auto-attack him ever. Like, you just want to shove the wave and peace out. And I think he could maybe posture more aggressively, and then if Renata is here, of course he can also posture more aggressively, because they know Amumu didn't base, and there's no way in hell Amumu's ever going to cure Renata that's here, or you trading 1v2 against him is also not going to be that easy. But you crashing this wave is already like, wow, this is a blessing. We're very happy that this happened. Renata is probably on vacation. I haven't seen her on the map yet. She's chilling. Okay. So this still played out perfectly fine. You have Dirk, and this is perfectly fine. Okay.
Usually when I'm around this time in the game, I'm like pretty happy for enemy to have a bit of prio, so that when their wave will crash, I'll have a slow push for Herald timing.
Yeah, this is definitely a good timer for it, yeah. Agreed. It's like usually if you can be the one building a wave on the 730 wave, for Herald it's very, very good.
Yeah.
I'm so out of the loop in my brain with this type of thinking, because the last scrim I was in was at the World Championship. So for my brain to go to Rift Herald, I'm happy that you remind me. You know, for me, I'm just looking at the lane.
Yeah.
I'm in full solo queue mode right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like the Amumu, depending on how he perceives jungle situation, I think Amumu can do a lot more by contesting the third bush too, when they are walking up. Because as long as he's contesting the third bush, forces them to use some kind of resource, whether it's HP or a ward, it goes a long way. Because the moment he enters the third bush, you can also walk up more. But if he's in the second bush and they are positioned here in the lane, they don't feel pressured by Amumu. I think this is something that this is Lilip, right? Your boy Lilip? Okay.
Yep.
I think he can angle a little bit more in the third bush, and at least force him to use a ward. Or if they begin to trade HP with him, you can posture forward. And when you posture forward and you are standing in a position where you're last hitting the wave from a more aggressive stance, you can build a bigger wave and they can't hit it, and they have to actually trade HP to hit the wave.
Yeah.
Because these guys are walking forward a lot. And this is your like level 6 timer, it's a pretty big one, like your execute is already really fucking big. If this is coordinated, the Mumu can begin to walk to the third bush, and as this wave passes, maybe there's an angle here to do something. But of course, once again, I'm not in tune with what the fuck Graves is doing. I'm just looking at the lane phase, so I'm just strictly looking from a lane phase perspective.
Yep.
Now, in my mind, right, if you, even if there's a situation where you are, like let's say you hard push that cannon wave, right? And you're afraid of red-white, which is right. The main thing that we had as a principle was we only ever commit with, basically we hovered towards the Rift Herald play with our bot lane, but we never commit unless there's an all-out fight.
Yeah.
Because in most cases, if let's say you push this and you hover into river and Wukong is already in a position to start the Herald as you are posturing towards this, then in most cases what occurred, the most important thing is that the wave that is coming out while Herald is spawning, the 8-minute wave that is going to be like central at what timer? I'm brain farting, but around the timer of Rift Herald, as long as you're hovering and there's prio on that wave, usually through the sheer force of Fog of War, because you have prio on that wave, the enemy won't contest Herald, and then you can re-enter into bot.
Yeah.
Because usually what we did at least was we only commit with our AD if the enemy AD also moved. But if they are mismatching by staying bot, then you just re-enter bot and defend after securing Herald. Yeah. But the most important aspect of this is that the Herald needs to be started as the Draven and the Mumu move. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also sometimes when the jungler starts the Herald, the mid laner usually takes position in river, and then the AD takes the 8-minute wave on mid lane.
Yes,
and then
yes.
Back bot lane.
Because you just being around in case there's a fight is already good enough.
Yeah.
And then if for some reason the Aphelios commits into both the top side and they want to look to fight and to contest, you would be in a position where you swap into top side. You don't want to re-enter. And then you play with the Herald on top side just because you commit to the fight. Because you need to gain for it, right? Yeah. But yeah, okay. We continue. Okay. Alright. The homies are getting some resets for you. The Wukong punched him. Yo, Wukong, man! The Wukong just swung his staff at him. Jesus. You gave him such a good leash too, and it just robs you like that. I hope he has Divine Thunder or something over this, but I doubt it. He's not that rich.
Yeah.
Okay. How long have you been playing the game?
I played like on and off since, I don't know, maybe season 2 or something.
Okay.
But then I took a break and then I started tryharding in season 6, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, then I played ever since.
How quick was your progression? It's like how quickly did you become like legit? I'm always curious about how fast that jump is, you know?
Yeah. I think I got gold in the season where you got Victorious Morgana.
Oh.
I think it was season 4 or 3.
Okay.
And then I took a break, and then in season 6 my placements was in silver, I think, and I got diamond at the end of the season. And then in season 7 I got master, I think.
Okay.
And then challenger after.
What do you think that you were you always on the right path? And you just had to play more games, or was there something that you changed in order to, like, reach new highs?
I think the biggest thing was probably when I quit football.
Okay.
Focused on league.
Alright.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when I was younger, I kind of had the dream I have in league. I had that in football. But then I realized I probably didn't spend my very young years training too hard, so I kind of just switched to league since I felt I had a better shot.
I see. So was it what was it that pulled you towards League?
I mean, my brother introduced me to it at
Okay.
first, and then I started watching like you know, people like Reckless and players like these, and I
Okay.
thought it was just like, you know, it was kind of the same as traditional sports for me. You know, you have fans, you have players competing with mindset being very like stuff outside of the game is just as important as in traditional sports.
For sure, yeah.
So yeah.
No, the craziness of when I was player, bro. It was the wild west back in season 1, 2, 3. We were chasing ghosts. Like back in season 2, the we got scammed for every salary ever. Like there was just monopoly money. You would never get money. You would never get prize money. People would just disappear. They would delete their Skypes, and then that same person would appear with a different name, and he would make another tournament, and you would play it anyway because you had no choice.
Yeah.
It was craziness, and it's for me to have been part of the whole journey the whole way. It's for me. I wake up every day. I'm thinking, what the fuck are we doing? You know, how did it get so far? You know, it's truly astonishing. Here in your mind, if Aphelios went through mid, what would you do as a decision?
I'll probably hard push intercept plates.
Okay.
What else? Another option I could do is I could thin out the wave a bit, and then I could move to mid as well. But then I would probably have to move backward after and catch the wave.
Okay.
So it would have to be like a one wave play on mid lane.
Okay. So I'm looking from the Aphelios perspective, right? It's like he knows that his Renata is contesting through mid, and if they don't win the mid prio when you are on bot, they are going he's going to be in trouble regardless, and he can't walk on you on bot. So what is he really doing? He went to very expensive cinema here, just watching you lasted minions. But I like your solution where you just make sure that you hover and fog. You make sure that you don't lose any minions on bot. You accomplish the same thing that Aphelios is accomplishing because you guys have full pinks in river, and you can just thin out the wave and for sure you keep the freeze towards you. I like that a lot. And then the main thing is that Aphelios' decision would be so hard. Like for him to even try to fathom the idea of stealing the bot wave would be insanity. So. I like that. Another thing that I don't know if another thing that maybe your team could leverage. I don't know if you're interested in us, but in my mind here, usually when you're on the side of playing a lot of melee champs, it's like usually the weakness you have is range. But the moment you step into river and champions have to face check and cut corners, your range becomes so much more expanded the moment you're in fog of war, right? Like in bot bush or in any bush. In most cases, what I like doing is just that when you have, for example, Galio, that contesting those neutral waves on mid becomes a lot less relevant because Galio can join any fight in river, and just maintaining position in river and being in fog of war with Amumu and Wukong is so much more powerful than them being three potatoes, like being on the mid wave.
Yeah.
It's like them being in fog of war and sitting on these pinks, they have impact on mid, they have impact on bot, and they also already have the position that the enemy wants to take with the mid prio anyway. And Galio can join any situation. Like here, his ult is just coming up, and Amumu ult is just coming up. But the moment they are in showing this group of guys, the decision of the enemy becomes so much easier. Because these guys are taking the minion wave under the tower, they will cross into river to clear these pinks, and then all of a sudden this freeze that you have can become a liability due to the decision of these three. Yeah. But we let it play, we see what happens, what the enemy goes for.
I think we called to fight Drake, so I was just pushing.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah. Okay. Oh, this Mordekaiser went on a journey, dude. This is crazy what the enemy is doing. Okay, I just need to rewatch this. I need to go back how they ended up doing this. Yeah, I think Amuma has no business going into Tribush. That's for sure. The ward was good to cover any angle for you, but you also have some, so them catching you is quite like unrealistic. It's like worst case you maybe have to cleanse the Philios ult, but I think walking into try here was too far because your team was hitting the Drake already. But okay. Did you win?
No, we lost this game.
Oh shit. Okay.